What is going on, everybody? Nasdorachi coming back at you again with a follow-up video for some of the information I recorded earlier in the day. We did report on, if you remember, if you saw the video, Bobby Kotick and his interesting seeming immunity and protection by the board of directors, whilst also a small group of employees, actually it's not even that small, it's rather large, but a small percentage overall of the board and relevant employees, other people, were basically forming what looked like to be like a petition, a letter, to have him and two other employees resign and be replaced by new management. But it seemed like the board did stick with him. Well, today there's been a few more developments, many of them outside of Blizzard Activision itself. So we're going to cover a couple of different things here real quickly, just to kind of, again, add more context to the information we put out earlier. So Activision Blizzard's zero tolerance policy on harassment apparently won't apply to Kotick himself, which is what the staff were reportedly told. And there's no evidence of the claims which occurred over a decade ago, which would be the one that I showed on camera on screen for you guys, where he had threatened to kill one of his assistants in a rather harsh tone, but apparently it was a joke that he profusely apologized for. And again, I am all for people not being necessarily witch hunted for things that they did decades ago if they have shown improvements, if they have grown as a person. I'm all for forgiveness and letting people move forward, depending on the severity of what they did. But that does not necessarily seem to be the case right now, and there's almost like an air of smugness around it, where Kotick himself really seems to be kind of immune for now. I'm assuming ultimately the stock price of the company will determine what level of immunity he has, overall, but as of right now, it seems that a majority of the board of directors is siding with Kotick. So Bobby Kotick was again defended by Activision Blizzard leadership last night during a company meeting where employees were told its new zero tolerance policy would not apply to claims made this week against the CEO. So claims basically going back into the past. It seems like the board of directors is trying to establish a clean slate for Kotick, based on the fact that he makes the company a lot of money and he's contributed to Activision Blizzard, rising up there to now the near infamous levels of EA and stuff. So they seem like they want to give him a clean slate, all the stuff in the past, the alleged rapes, abuses, suicides, tons of questionable history, very, very suspect. They don't seem to want to hear any of that right now because they're just totally interested in moving forward. When the zero tolerance policy, et cetera, it is a little bit questionable. It's a lot of bit questionable, actually. But the staff heard little new, which was reported by a game developer, citing sources on the call who said that pre-screened questions were given answers repeating the company's pre-stated defenses. There was apparently nothing to suggest Activision Blizzard executives would not continue to stand by Kotick in the short term. When asked whether Activision Blizzard's zero tolerance policy to harassment, something Kotick only announced last month, would apply to Kotick himself, staff were told no. Activision Blizzard execs said they did not have evidence of Kotick's own alleged harassment of employees, which is similar to that instance I told you about him threatening to kill his staffer, as these occurred over a decade ago, so no legitimate evidence, apparently. Employees were also told the company's upcoming Thanksgiving break had been extended, something staff suspected was an attempt to dampen further criticism. Hey, we'll throw this, little perks, little advantages at you, why don't you shut the hell up? That seems to be how it was received, which is not necessarily a good look, although I'm sure hopefully most people will be able to enjoy that time away from Blizzard. But pressure on Kotick remains. As we learned last night, it's not just coming from those within Activision Blizzard. Jim Ryan, boss of PlayStation, reportedly expressed deep concern over this week's Activision Blizzard allegations. We do not believe their statements of response properly address the situation, Ryan told staff members in an unprecedented email. A group of Activision Blizzard shareholders have asked for Kotick's removal, a sentiment expressed by some 150 staff members who organized a walkout earlier this week. That's kind of what I was mentioning to you guys earlier about how a certain percentage of the overall leadership and board of directors do want him removed, along with 2 others that are really high up in the development. Again, we covered that in a video earlier. Check that out. But in addition, we do have the PlayStation boss, the CEO of PlayStation, or Sony Interactive Entertainment, I believe is his official title. Jim Ryan has reportedly penned an email to company employees criticizing Bobby Kotick's response to allegations of sexual misconduct and harassment at Activision Blizzard, saying he has contacted Activision to express deep concerns at recent news. So he says, we do not believe their statements of response properly address the situation, aka they're not doing enough, aka if Bobby Kotick is in fact guilty of, throwing things under the bus, sweeping them under the rug, protecting his, crummy leadership that was doing a lot of dirty stuff, then more needs to be done, maybe including his removal. It's not only the PlayStation boss or the Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO who, we don't want to get that confused. That is not the overall CEO of Sony. That would be, Kenichiro Yoshida. He is the CEO of Sony overall, but this is the PlayStation CEO, Jim Ryan. So basically the guy who's running most of the video game, related stuff, consoles, hardware, games, publishing, all that type of stuff. In addition to that, the Xbox chief says he's evaluating the relationship with Activision. Phil Spencer's note to staff is similar to the PlayStation one. Some 500 Activision employees are calling for Kotick's resignation. The Microsoft Corporation's head of Xbox says he's evaluating all aspects of our relationship with Activision Blizzard and making ongoing proactive adjustments in light of the recent revelations at the video game publisher. In an email to staff seen by Bloomberg News, Phil Spencer said he and the gaming leadership team are disturbed and deeply troubled by the horrific events and actions at Activision Blizzard. He referred to the Wall Street Journal story earlier this week, where he said that Chief Executive Officer Bobby Kotick knew of sexual harassment at the company for years, and that he also equally mistreated women and threatened to kill his employees, etc., events like that. This type of behavior has no place in our industry, Spencer wrote. He joins a swell of outcry from employees and investors and shareholders in demanding a stronger response from the U.S. second biggest gaming publisher. And that goes into the PlayStation stuff that I mentioned earlier, that PlayStation is disheartened and frankly stunned to read that Activision has not done enough to address a deep-seated culture of discrimination and harassment. So do we see a world where Xbox and PlayStation, and that vicariously spills over to a good chunk of PC due to Xbox and Windows integration, stop taking titles and games published by Activision Blizzard and do not list them and basically delist the company until they do more? He says Spencer went a step further in saying he would take action. Xbox and PlayStation are among the video game industry's biggest console manufacturers. Activision has a long history with the Xbox. Publisher's largest franchise, Call of Duty, became successful largely due to Microsoft's innovative online platform Xbox Live, which of course allows, multiplayer games to exist on the consoles. Well, at least for Xbox. Sony got its own similar system with the same kind of results, I would expect. And with that being said, do we again see a world where these console publishers and Windows Store on PC do not list Activision Blizzard games until more is done? Allegedly, there was an employee company-wide meeting today. We got Tracy Kennedy here, who's a producer on Overwatch, saying the meeting was basically a joke. The meeting's invite said we were meeting live, but then they just showed a pre-recorded video where he just read a PR piece, and it's not being received well by a lot of Activision Blizzard employees. Consistently, we can see here that their stock price is continuing a little bit of a downward spiral here, which really hit on the 16th when a lot of these allegations about Bobby Kotick came out. And when the board started to announce that they were kind of agreeing with him, that he was immune, you can see pretty drastic drop down to where it's at now over the past 5 days. Actually really over the past 3 days, this has all started to transpire. And it does always seem to creep up a little bit after hours, but it's not really looking like any positive trajectory is being had here. And one could imagine that if they announced, a huge drop around November 2nd here, if they announced that Bobby Kotick was being replaced along with the two others in upper management that the general consensus seems to be they want outed of the company, one would wonder how much this would spike back up if in the public eye the company was making the appropriate decisions. With that being said, that's about all we have to report right now. Activision Blizzard seems to not be responding to anything properly these days, and beyond that, it's even drawing the ire of PlayStation and Xbox company executives all the way to the very top, their CEOs. So Activision Blizzard's got a lot of light being casted on them right now. Will they do the right thing? Will they do the wrong thing? Please let us know your thoughts down in the comments. If you're new here, consider subscribing, liking the video, hitting the bell so that we can see you around much more frequently as we continue to report on gaming news and other stuff that's just more fun and, journalistic based as well. So we'll see you next time. This is Nasdorachi signing out. Have a good day.